Oh my goodness, no, no, no. Don't do this. This is a total disaster of a gaming PC, and I want you not to build this. Do not build this PC, please. Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is Boost My Build, the series where we take your PC build lists, we tear them up, we put them back together, and massively increase your performance. And we've got two crazy builds for this episode. We have a $650 budget gaming PC, and they are going dumpster diving, absolute dumpster diving for parts, and they're getting trash tier performance as a result. And we've got a $1,300 gaming PC build that just isn't giving us the level of performance we need, and we're massively over budget. Can we save them? Remember, if you get value out of this video, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel, and of course, subscribe. Click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. Before that, this video is sponsored by VIP SSD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows 10 licenses and that terrible Activate Windows 10 watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SSD Key, and get a Windows 10 Home or 11 OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 25% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom! You have a fully licensed Windows 10 or 11 for a crazy low price. Use the links in the video description. We've got Stapler. I love the name. Hi, Jason. I've been watching some YouTube videos for a couple of months, and I think it's finally time for me to build my own PC. Trying to stay under $650. Okay, that's a tight budget, but as we've shown in our previous best build videos, you can actually build a pretty good 1440p, kind of 60 FPS gaming PC for that. They've been watching Zach's Tech Turf. I like Zach, and he's always talking about AM5. Whoa, he's not talking about AM5 at this budget, I guarantee it. So I thought I'd use it for my first build. Oh no.
Oh no.
Let's see what you got. Oh my goodness, no, no, no. Don't do this. Do not do this. This is a total disaster of a gaming PC, and I want you not to build this. You finished out at $652.28. Let's start at the budget here before I just completely lose my mind on this one. So you're about on par with your $650 budget, and I'm gonna tell you this PC, yes, if you put it all together, would it technically work? Well, probably for a little while until the PSU kind of gave up the ghost, but this thing's gonna thermally throttle or RAM is totally, like, I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with the GPU. For some reason, you're going with a 5700 XT 8GB GPU that you want to pull in for $199 brand new. And on the one hand, could you still actually get this brand new? This is some, okay, yeah, this is a third-party seller. That's kind of what I thought. I would be suspicious of these cards. They haven't manufactured them for a while. Some of these cards are basically mining cards that they've refurbished, and they're gonna sell to you with the packaging here for, $199, even though they're not technically new. And I see these sellers all the time on Amazon. I would just be highly suspicious of older GPUs like this. 5700 XT was a pretty good price to performance GPU about a year or so ago, but because they were former mining GPUs, miners were selling them off in droves, and you could pick one up for like $120. And at that price, they were really, really good. But the stock of mining GPUs out there has largely kind of been soaked up, and the price for these on the used market hasn't been very good. And I know for $199, we could get an actual brand new GPU that would perform just as well. And then let's go, you started with the Ryzen 7600. Look, I'm not knocking the Ryzen 7600 at all. It's a great gaming CPU for builds that have more value. This is a mid-range gaming CPU, and you are in a budget class. You are in a budget build class right now. Remember, when we're building a gaming PC, we just want to get the biggest, fastest GPU that we can get, and then just get a CPU that's not going to bottleneck it. We don't need this much CPU power for the GPUs that we're looking at. It's just not going to benefit us, and we're just soaking up a lot of our money right here. For the motherboard, I don't like this motherboard. This is the MSI Pro A620M-E. This is basically your kind of garbage tier A620 motherboard. And listen, if this is all we could afford and we could get a decent enough GPU that would require a Ryzen 7600, I might say give it a shot. I don't typically recommend A620 boards or any of the A-series boards really, because they don't support precision boost overdrive on the A620s. And there are typically B650 motherboards about the same price. Obviously not as cheap as this. This is like stupid cheap out there, but I think we're gonna really kind of pay the price for this. And I just wouldn't do it. For the RAM, we made a massive mistake, an absolute massive mistake. And I want to explain why, because I think a lot of people still have this misconception about DDR5, because the DDR5 A single stick is dual channel. It's dual channel. Like, Jason, what's wrong with getting one stick of 16 gigabytes DDR5 4800 CL40? It's only $40. I'm saving tons of money. I'm still getting 16 gigs of RAM, which you say is enough for gaming, and we're getting dual channel. Aren't we getting the best of all worlds? No, no. The whole single and dual channel thing, that was for DDR4. This is an entirely different architecture. DDR5 actually can use quad channels, can use 4 channels, so we're still only getting half as many. Just stick to the easy to remember. You want pairs of sticks. Pairs of sticks is how RAM works best, whether it's DDR3, DDR4, DDR5, DDR6, probably in the future as well. So just focus on that. What we're doing right here is by only getting less than our maximum bandwidth, we're hurting our performance. For the drive, Patriot P300, 512 gig drive, absolutely fine. $37. I don't have a problem with it. Would love to see a terabyte in here, but I know we're hitting a pretty tight budget. 512 gigs, I still feel like even in 2024 is enough space for gaming. You can still get several games, a couple of games out there where they would be your only game on there. But for the vast majority of titles, you can still get several games on a drive like this. And the good news is you could always add in storage in the future as you expand. Not bad for $37. Let's talk about the disaster of this case and why we are absolutely going to thermally throttle this build. I checked this case out, and at first I thought to myself, well, it doesn't look that bad. Yeah, it's only got one fan, but we could buy a couple of fans and throw it in here. It does have this thing that looks like it's ventilation right here. Until I looked at the other side of the case, right? I was like, but let's make sure that that's actually ventilation and it's not just a piece of plastic in there. And I looked at it, and if you can see it here, no, this is a solid wall of plastic on the other side. Even if we put fans here, there's no airflow. There's no airflow on the side. There's no airflow on the bottom. There's no airflow on the top. This is a terrible thing. The other thing I would say is it's basically built like kind of one of these in-wind cases where it's got the PSU shroud on the top, which would be fine, except that we have to face the PSU fan into the build and into the hottest part of the build, which is right here where the CPU cooler is. I do not like this design whatsoever. If we're going to do this, they should have some kind of cutout on the top so that PSU fan can suck in nice, cool, fresh air, and it doesn't have to steal from the case. Overall, though, this case to me is a total no-go, especially when it's almost like $50, about as expensive as we can find really good cases. And then for the power supply, this is an F-rated power supply on the PSU Cultist list. This is a replace immediately. The Thermaltake smart units, these smart units, you should just, if you have one of these, get rid of it. Get rid of it. You can get affordable PSUs for like $10 more right now. You can get some of the PSUs that we've been looking at, 550 watts, for $49. It would only cost us $10 more to get an acceptable PSU. What we're risking here is basically all of our other components by plugging into this, where some of the protections on this are tested and they did not work. So this is an absolute no-go. All told, $652. I'm really not feeling the love here. I'm not feeling why we went with AM5. I think we just got really fixated around a single part, and it's kind of kneecapped the rest of our performance here. We can do a lot better for $650. You deserve a great gaming PC. Let's get you one. I called this the real $650 budget gaming PC because we are going to get actual budget gaming PC performance for $650, not trash tier performance that may even blow up our PC. And this is the performance that you really deserve. You really deserve out there. I finished out $635.20. And honestly, I just couldn't figure out where to spend another $15. Let's start off where else? The GPU. I'm going to give you 3 different choices here, and you're going to finish anywhere from $635 up to $600 and maybe $670, depending on which one you choose. Let's start off with the GPU that I picked here to hit your budget. That's the RTX 3060 12 gigabyte GPU. You can find the Zotac one for $280. There's a couple other ones down here, a little closer to $300 or $290. There's still a wide range of these available out there. You get 12 gigs of VRAM, so that's going to help you in all those titles that want more than 8 gigs, even at 1080p. 2 thumbs up there. And as we'll see, it's slightly faster, at least, than the 5700 XT that you were going to get. My number one upgrade option for you that is going to put you a little bit over your budget, but just a little bit, and honestly, I feel like going to give you an entirely new class of performance, is the RX 6700 XT or the 6750 XT. You can see you can get a 6700 XT for $320, a 6750 XT for only $10 more. And that's 6% performance for $10. I would definitely do that if you can afford it. For those of you who don't live in a market where you can still pick up the older 6700 XT 12GB GPU, you can get a 7600 XT 16GB GPU for about $319, about the same price as the 6700 XT goes for in the US. So that is my alternative that I would pick up if those 6700 XTs aren't available. So what kind of FPS can you expect for $650? Well, I don't have a 5700 XT on this chart. This is a TechSpot 12 game average at 1440p. Remember, these are harder to run titles at ultra settings. At ultra settings, you can always go to high settings and get a lot more FPS. And this is the 7600 XT review, so this is relatively fresh data. That RX 5700 XT 8GB card is going to perform on par with the RTX 2070. I mean, we've seen testing a million times to that effect, about 53 average FPS. The 3060, the GPU that I'm recommending we move to that will give us 12 gigs of VRAM, will have about 10% more performance, up at around 58 average FPS. But if we can afford another $20, maybe $30, the RX 6700 XT, look at that. 76 average FPS. That's a huge step up. And if we don't have those, if we live in a market where those just don't exist anymore, even the 7600 XT with 16 gigs of VRAM, double the amount of VRAM you were going to get, 67 average FPS, that's a huge step up. For the rest of the platform, remember, what we want to do when we're building a budget gaming PC, or heck, any gaming PC really, we want the biggest, fastest GPU that we can afford, and then we just want a CPU that's not going to bottleneck it. That is the Ryzen 5500 here, $99. This is plenty of CPU for any of the GPUs that we just looked at. You will not bottleneck. And you do have, I know you wanted AM5 because you thought about that future upgrade path. This is going to give you a future upgrade path. You can always drop in a 5700 or 5800X 3D in the future here instead. And right now, it'll get you started for $99, and it comes with the included Ray Stealth cooler, so we don't need an additional cooler for that, though you can always add one in the future if you want to. I do just quickly want to point out that you can right now, at least in the US, get the Ryzen 5 3600. It looks like they're coming back into production here. Similar performance to the 5500, and you can get it for $83, and it comes with the included stock cooler as well. So 2 thumbs up there if you're able to take advantage of it. Otherwise, pick up the 5500. For the motherboard, we are going cheap. B450 motherboard. I like the ASRock B450M Pro 4 Revision 2. I was not aware of this until somebody pointed out, but the Revision 2 of this motherboard actually allows you to put 2 M.2s on this motherboard. Most of the B450s were a single, the budget ones at least, with a single M.2 on them. However, this will allow you to put 2 M.2s. It's got an ARGB header on it. It's overall got decent enough, good enough VRMs that you could put a 5700X 3D on here in the future, and it's only $80. For the RAM, we just need good enough RAM. We just need good enough RAM. That's DDR4 3200 CL16. We're getting dual channel here because we're getting 2 sticks. Just remember, think in pairs of sticks, either 2 or 4. In this case, we're getting 2. We've got plenty of RAM for gaming here. This is plenty fast enough for our CPU as well. For the drive, I stuck it out with your Patriot P300 M.2. Now here's an area, if I wanted to spend about another $20, I could get a whole nother 500 gigs. I can basically get 1 terabyte of space. So that's another area you could spend on this. However, I just think the GPU is the area we probably want to upgrade first. Listen, for the case, it's really hard to beat the Bitfinex Nova Mesh Micro ATX case. I absolutely love this case. We're going to do an upcoming live build in this case again, or the Deepcool CC360. Well, we'll kind of let people choose day up. But either one is a fantastic value micro ATX case with 3 included ARGB fans. They both look amazing, and they're both right around that kind of $56 to $60. For the power supply, we're going with a power supply that's not going to blow up our build. That is the MSI Mag A550BN for only $49. It's C-tier rated. It's got fully sleeved cables. I will say, if you're going to go 6700 XT, 6750 XT, I would probably go ahead and go with the 650 watt version of this for $10 more, only $10 more. I know it's gonna peak us up a little bit closer to that $700 overall price point, but again, massive improvement in performance, and I think we do need a little bit more power if we go those more powerful GPUs. So all told, $635, or if you go the upgrade path, more like $675, you're gonna get a massive level of improvement here in terms of it's actually gonna work, it's not gonna blow the build up, we're gonna get RAM that's not gonna bottleneck us, we're gonna get a future upgrade path here, and we're gonna get a GPU with more than 8 gigs of VRAM for 2024. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. We've got Matthew. Matthew says, "Hi Jason, I'm looking to build my very first PC." All right. and they've been looking at our series for a lot of help. They're in the UK, their budget is £1,000. That was roughly equal to about $1,275, almost $1,300 USD. And they mostly play games like Fortnite, Minecraft, Overwatch. Okay, so we basically like games, except for Minecraft, they're like more competitive shooter type games, but easier to run, so you're getting a lot more FPS. They do want to be able to use apps such as Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. Honestly, any gaming PC is going to be easily able to do that at an amateur, non-professional level, so let's not worry about that because your main focus is on gaming. All right, let's see what you got. I feel like we got so close on this build, but we just kind of didn't pull it off. We didn't pull it off, and I'm seeing a couple things here that just really give me heartburn. Give me heartburn. Let's go through. You finished at 1,050 pounds, so you're already over your budget. You're basically 50 pounds over your budget, and I know what you're running into here. You're running into that kind of limit where Ryzen 7000 just kind of doesn't feel like it works below a certain budget. Looks like about 1,000 pounds for you, but I think we can get it to work. I think we can get it to work because I see a couple of choices we made that I'm not really so sure about. Let's start off where else the GPU. I like the RX 7700 XT 12GB GPU. Now, we could have gone Ryzen 5000 or Intel 12th gen instead with this, instead of the Ryzen 7600, which, spoiler, was where we went. But for 388 pounds, basically, that's pretty good. I do want to address something because I know oftentimes people look at these prices. Number one, they forget to take into account the conversion rate between British pounds, right, the UK, and US dollars, or whatever the currency is, and US dollars. And the other thing is, especially countries in Europe, the taxes are national. So retailers add the tax amount into the retail price. So that price you see includes tax. In the US, the taxes are done by states, and there's 50 states and then a bunch of US territories, and they all have different tax rates. So it's just not practical to do that. So retailers list price before tax, whereas retailers like in the UK and some other European nations, this is basically your after-tax price. You went with the Ryzen 5 7600, and I'm kind of wondering why. And not that the 7600 isn't a good CPU, but we do have the Ryzen 7500F that's available in the UK right now. I know we have to buy it. Basically, we get tray pricing on it. It doesn't come with included stock cooler. It looks like that's what we're going to use here because I don't see a cooler included in this build. I'd love it to include a cooler anyway. We could even go Ryzen 5000. We'll just have to see what works. For the motherboard, I don't like A620 motherboards. I think I've said this a number of times. This is actually a pretty good motherboard. I'm not going to knock it too much. It has pretty good VRMs on it. Not that you need good VRMs because it's only going to run the CPU basically at stock because it does not have support for precision boost overdrive on it. Overall, though, it still supports a decent amount of connectivity on it. It's got 2 M.2 slots on it. I do think, though, for not that much more, you could get the B650 version of this motherboard, and it's a substantially better board. It's got additional M.2 slot on it. It's got more USBs. It's just an overall better board, and that's why I just shy away from these A620s, because you're not saving that much money. RAM, no arguments with the RAM. This is the kit that I always recommend. However, I do see the price. It seems like it may be a little expensive in the UK. We'll hunt around to see if we can find a slightly better kit, price performance, although these T-Force Delta kits are really tough to beat, and I'm not that familiar with the UK, so I'll hunt around. But honestly, DDR5 6000 CL30 is exactly what we want to go for. And you can't find 2x8GB kit. 2x16GB is pretty much the minimum that you're going to find at these speeds. So I think you did a pretty good job. I'm not convinced on the Crucial 3 plus 1TB drive for 71 pounds. Now in dollars, that wouldn't be so bad for this drive. It just seems kind of expensive. And I would like to see us go with a more kind of budget-ish option out there that's priced a little bit better and pump that money back into our build, or at least just get us under our budget. In case, I've ranted and raved about how great the Deepcool CC360 is, along with the BitPhoenix Nova Mesh. I don't understand why the case manufacturers just can't compete with what's going on here, because these are great cases. They got good airflow on them. It's got nice PSU shrouds on them. They look nice. They've got 3 included actual ARGB regular PWM fans, not Molex fans. You can mount radiators on the top of them. Overall, just have nothing except good things to say about these cases. The power supply is, I think, where we went off the rails a little bit here. We don't need 750 watts for this. And I know this is obviously an A-tier rated PSU. We could probably get away with easily with 650 watts here. And we could also consider dropping down. I know this is A-tier. We always want to be on the A-tier if we can. However, we've already gone over our budget. So in order to get under our budget, we might need to cut down on the tier. All told, for 1,050 pounds, a little over $1,300 USD. I'm just not feeling the price to performance that we need to get out of this build. Well, this is the actually 1,000-pound gaming PC build. Why? Because we're actually going to spend your actual budget on this. 986 pounds is where I finished out. That's right, almost 70 pounds less than you did. That's a lot of money USD. That's about $100 USD. Let's jump into the GPU. Now, I decided to stick it out with the RX 7700 XT. Great GPU. Right now, you can get 388 pounds. Now, remember, that includes tax. That includes tax in the UK. So that is an excellent price. In fact, it's $324, excluding VAT, the value-added tax to it. I don't know how it's so cheap there in the UK. I'm a little bit jealous, to be honest. For the CPU, I decided to go with the Ryzen 5 7500F. I really wish the CPU was available in the US. People keep asking, Jason, why don't you mention the 7500F more? Because it's just not in my market. I don't have one. I know I can order it from China basically, and then wait for 4 to 6 to 8 weeks for it to actually show up. Fingers crossed it actually makes it. I'm just not interested in doing that. I want to go with a retailer where if I have a problem, I can send it back immediately and get something back immediately. And the 7600 is not that much more. But the 7500F, if you're able to grab it for 161 pounds, and that includes the value-added tax. So this is absolutely insane value. I will say though, this is the tray pricing for it in the UK. Does not come with included stock cooler. Doesn't even come in a box. This comes in the plastic clamshell. That's absolutely fine. You don't need it. We want to replace that Race Stealth cooler anyway. I will say if you're not able to get the 7500 out of the 7600, perfectly adequate as well, of course. For the cooler, I went with the id Cooling SE214XT. ARGB cooler. It's nice. It comes in all white. It comes in black. 17 pounds 99, basically 18 pounds. Dirt cheap cooler and really good performer. For the motherboard, we basically went with the same motherboard, but we went with the B650 version for only 10 pounds more. 10 pounds more. We're going to get access to Precision Boost Overdrive, which we absolutely want to enable once we get the PC up and running. We want to jump into the BIOS and enable that. It's going to give us a little bit more performance, especially when we're doing stuff like gaming or we're doing any kind of multi-threaded workloads. If you want to do video editing, we will see that performance difference on this. And with the included cooler that we've added to this, it will give us even more cooling headroom on it. So I really like this board for 138 pounds. For the RAM, listen, I looked high and low, the Team Group Delta. I don't know how they make these, and these are good DIMMs too. They make these DIMMs so cheap. Why can't anybody compete with them? What are you all thinking out there? Get on this, because these are great. These are absolutely great kits, and I have nothing bad to say about them. I did have one kit out of 8 or 10 or 12 of these that we've used. One stick did go bad, but that happens to all the kits that I've used. It's just kind of natural variants out there. Sent it right back and got another one, boom, and it absolutely worked fine. So grab these while you can. For the drive, my big problem with your drive is just completely overpriced. I was able to find a 1 terabyte drive for 59 pounds out there. That's the ADATA XPG SX 8200 Pro. Now this is a higher performance with DRAM drive on it, so 2 thumbs up there. If you're not able to, it looks like this is on a really good sale right now. If you're not able to find that, I would just say get the cheapest actual NVMe M.2 out there that's 1 terabyte. You can find them for right around 60 pounds, and it'll save you just enough money to get under your budget. For the case, the Deepcool CC360 ARGB, now I can't figure out why this won't show it to me in the UK. I'm not able to I haven't figured out how to change my location basically, so it's showing me a US price, $54. But still, the UK price on this is absolutely good too. Not too much bad to say about this case. Yes, it's still a budget case. It still has some shortcomings here and there, but nothing that you wouldn't expect for a case in its price category. And honestly, once you build this thing, it's amazing. So 2 thumbs up. For the power supply, we're going to go with a 650 watt MSI Mag A650BN. This is a bronze rated unit. It's got black sleeved cables to it. I really wish that somebody else would pick up the slack when it comes to these C tier kind of more budget PSUs out there. It used to be EVGA was the big name in more budget power supplies. They've really fallen off in recent years. Really unfortunate, because it has left a huge hole in the budget PSU market, but MSI has been filling it with this unit. All told, 986 pounds, 49, I don't know what you call your cents over there, 49 cents. We're going to get an amazingly performative 1440p gaming PC build and The CPU, the Ryzen 7500F, I'm super excited to finally be able to at least part out a build with one. I'd love to use one, send them to the US AMD. We're gonna get Precision Boost Overdrive on our actual motherboard with a B650M motherboard. We're gonna keep our amazing performance with better value drives and a PSU. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. If you got value out of this video, give it a like. This makes a huge difference to the channel, especially to this guy right here. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Hey, speaking of cool content, did you check out our best CPU for gaming video? Check it out right here. We go through all the CPUs right now, the price cuts, and which one you should be buying. And we'll catch you on the next one. Kitty.